Patriots Nation, take a breath, because today comes loaded with noise in Foxborough and beyond. There's heavy smoke rising from a historic rival, a headline-making name that could reshape the AFC map, a veteran suddenly on the hot seat, and a bunch of young guys playing like roster spots already have their names on them. Behind the scenes, the market is buzzing, and a roster decision is about to shake both locker room and stands. Want surprises? We've got them. Want analysis? That too. You won't believe what we've got today. So get comfy, drop a like, and let's dive straight into the news now. Inside the Foxborough locker room, the conversation shifted the moment the smoke in Dallas grew thick. This isn't preseason background noise. It's a real standoff with an all-pro who changes game plans and Sunday headlines. When a generational talent flirts with the exit, the entire league holds its breath, and smart teams get into position. In New England, that has another name: opportunity. Reports indicate the talks between the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons cooled months ago, with public comments only inflaming things. Surprised, insiders are already using phrases like divorce on the horizon with no set timetable. In that context, Elliot Wolf's line lands like gasoline. The Patriots are open to a big trade. That's not bluster. It's consistent with a front office that sped up the rebuild, stockpiled picks, and cleaned up the books. If the window opens, Foxborough has the ammo and the plan. Why does it make so much sense? Because Mike Vrabel is building an aggressive multiple defense, and a dominant pass rusher changes the math on every third down. He skews protections, speeds up the quarterback's clock, frees creative blitzes for Jabril Peppers, and simplifies life for young corners. The domino effect is immediate. Christian Barmore gets more one-on-ones. Jawan Bentley shoots gaps with conviction, and the edge rotation turns into a conditioning test for opposing tackles. Of course, there's a price. A move like this costs premium picks and possibly a young starter. The future contract would be massive and require cap creativity. But teams don't pay only for numbers. They pay for identity. Nothing sets a tone like a piece that forces the opponent to redraw Tuesday's install. The season opens at home against the Raiders on September 7. A power move before that would send a clear message to the AFC. The Patriots are back at the big table. The fan base is split, and that's great for debate. The all-in crowd wants the splash, tired of half measures. The cautious camp points to the long-term cost and the 2025 draft board. Both sides have a case. What keeps the dream alive is context. If the relationship in Dallas truly sours, opportunity is born from timing, the players' will, and the clarity of a project. New England can offer impact snaps, a rebuilding culture, and a scheme tailor-made for an edge predator. Rumor isn't reality, but big teams prepare for the improbable. If star and franchise break apart, better to be ready with a charged phone. I'd have had to CAs, I've had to find Trey one of Exodus were to find battle. Op star comet roost of Thackstoff cam. Some moves aren't about today. They're about raising the ceiling for the next 5 years. And that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. Sometimes the gut punch doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside your own building. While fans fix their eyes on potential acquisitions, the bombshell might be about to go off at home. Children of late times. Picture a big money player, once seen as a defensive pillar, suddenly treated like a disposable piece. That's the specter haunting Foxborough, and it's a heavy name: Kyle Duggar. A year ago, he signed a $58 million deal, stepping into the upper tier at the position. Expectations were crystal clear: be the tone setter, lead the secondary, and uphold a proud defensive tradition. But the numbers don't lie, and last season was a disaster. Among more than 160 safeties graded, Duggar landed near the bottom in coverage, with a 34.8 from PFF, unthinkable for someone carrying that much weight. It didn't stop there. His overall grade was also among the league's worst, shaking the staff's confidence and triggering alarms that the investment might have been sunk cost. Fans holding out hope point to years 2 and 3 when Duggar flashed with 7 total interceptions and played with an edge. The problem is, recent signs tell a different story. In camp, he hasn't led the room, quite the opposite. Jabril Peppers and Jalen Hawkins have taken the first-team reins, while he rotates with backups, even sliding to linebacker in some looks. To make matters worse, preseason snaps only reinforced the slide. Against Minnesota, he logged 45 defensive plays, not out of trust, but because the staff is still trying to find out if there's a fit to salvage in this scheme. And as if that weren't enough, the arrival of Marcus Epps, a Super Bowl champ with dependable coverage chops, raised the bar again. Craig Woodson is emerging as a reliable piece, and even UDFA Del Pettis has shown out with strong preseason grades. In other words, the internal competition turned into a wall that's getting harder for Duggar to climb, and right now he looks closer to the exit than to a comeback. While it's out, he looks closer to the exit than to a comeback. While it's out, he looks placer together in right palm back. Dove, Benora for Duggar in right palm back. Do know what they have pikio? Czy placed your how the pikini side on akpo? Dio veju babse, the thrains. Promorses nix kabloch to corrected pekin. Holvus to consult and the new glock ranti. Financially, cutting Duggar is complicated. The immediate cap relief would be minimal, but the message would be massive. In New England, a hefty contract doesn't guarantee a seat. It would be a tough call with emotional impact on both roster and fan base, but it would also underline a new front office philosophy, merit over reputation. If it happens, it won't just be a clerical move. It'll be a statement that Mike Vrabel and Elliot Wolf won't hesitate to be ruthless when production doesn't match investment. And while we're still debating that possible outcome, you can't help but think what it would mean for the defense's identity. A brutal reset, a reality check in the locker room, and a headache for fans who still see the old spark in Duggar. In a hurry tone, hold that thought, because what's coming next might crank the Foxborough voltage even higher. If anyone still doubted the impact of Elliot Wolf's rebuild, the first 2 preseason games quieted the critics. Foxborough's DNA has always been about building identity with hungry young players, and this crop might redefine the next decade. It's not hyperbole. National analysts are already whispering that the 2025 class could be the league's best. Too strong? Let's look at the tape. In the latest outing against Minnesota, 2 names not expected to headline stole the show: Trevion Henderson and Espn Chisholm. Henderson reminded everyone why many see him as the most complete back in the draft. Physical, explosive, and able to grind tough yards between the tackles. His touchdown versus the Vikings was a perfect snapshot. Fearless through contact, vision to hit the crease, and power to finish. Meanwhile, Chisholm played like he was born to be a New England slot. Quick cuts and reliable hands brought back memories of Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. Is it early? Sure, but when those comps pop up, something special is brewing. It wasn't just them. Will Campbell has been a rock up front, showing rare poise for a rookie. And the most impressive part, they all look fully bought into Mike Vrabel's philosophy. The coach who prizes discipline and aggression found a group that translates it on every snap. That blend of raw talent and a well-defined system is what makes fans' eyes light up. ESPN, NFL Network, independent voices, everyone's noticing something different in the air at Gillette. For fans, the feeling is twofold: excitement for the future and immediate relief. After years of draft criticism, the narrative finally flipped. Instead of gambles that fizzle, we're seeing young players ready to contribute in September. Henderson can share the backfield with Ramondre Stevenson without a drop-off. Chisholm is pushing to lock in slot snaps. Campbell stabilizes a unit that's always been a pillar of New England's success. That means depth, tactical options, and renewal. But easy, this is still preseason. Edelman's story reminds us that August glow needs confirmation in November. Even so, it's impossible to ignore the optimism swirling through the stadium corridors. The rookies aren't just playing well, they're energizing veterans and tugging at the team's culture. If this group delivers on the promise, the AFC needs to pay attention. And believe it or not, the off-field twist forming on the horizon might be even more explosive. If there's one position group in Foxborough causing more sleepless nights than any other, it's wide receiver. Not for lack of names, quite the opposite. The top of the depth chart feels settled, but the battle for the final spots has turned into a backstage war where every snap could decide a future or a farewell. With cut-down day closing fast, using the trade market as a pressure valve has never felt more real. Kendrick Bourne, once a trusted piece, is now a question mark. Injuries and inconsistency have pushed him down the line, and the clock isn't helping. Jaquelin Polk and Javon Baker, recent hopes, haven't shown enough steady play to convince Mike Vrabel they deserve immediate roles. The result, 3 familiar names might simply not fit on the 53, and that opens the door to a strategic solution: trades. The depth receiver market is hot. Teams like the Jaguars and Jets are scrambling for help before week 1. What looked like an internal scramble in New England can turn into trade currency, either to acquire future picks or reinforce other areas. Insiders have noted franchises are hunting for 4th and 5th receivers who can play special teams. And guess what? That's exactly the surplus profile the Patriots have. Just days ago, we saw real examples. Devon Villay landed in New Orleans, and Sky Moore was shipped to San Francisco. Translation: the phones are ringing, and first movers gain an edge. New England may not be buying in this specific lane, but they can absolutely sell and come out stronger. It's a chance to turn roster uncertainty into working capital, and at the same time soften the sting of tough cut decisions. Fans will be torn as always. Some see Bourne as a heart and soul guy and hate the idea of him leaving. Others believe Polk and Baker still have upside worth nurturing. But the fact is simple. On a roster chasing maximum efficiency, there's no room to stash players who haven't proven it yet. Every spot must be a Sunday weapon, not a what if. The final week of preseason between joint work and those last exhibitions will be decisive. It's when GMs and coaches fine-tune the board and choose between a quiet cut and a strategic trade. Elliot Wolf's been clear, the Patriots won't shy away from big swings. Sometimes, though, it's the smaller moves that define a whole season. And in the middle of that whirlwind, one question lingers: which names will actually suit up on September 7 against the Raiders? So that's where we are, Patriots Nation, a rare market chance that could change the defense, a painful potential cut that redefines culture, a rookie class already raising the bar, and a receiver chessboard that might bring smart trades. The message is clear. This team is moving with courage and intent. Now I want to hear you: is a premium pass rusher worth the price? Would you cut Duggar or try to revive the project? And between Bourne, Polk, and Baker, who stays? Drop a comment, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with another diehard.